was Indiana Clark's head coach Stephanie White discussing the brutal, vicious attack on Caitlin Clark by Al Thomas. Now, as you just saw, instead of Steph White coming to the defense of her only star player,
The WNBA is experiencing its most watched and most discussed season in nearly 30 years. Sold-out arenas, record-breaking television ratings, and non-stop conversations stretching far beyond the sports world have pushed women's basketball into the mainstream like never before. On the surface, everything points toward a historic breakthrough. This should be the season the league celebrates as the beginning of a new golden era. Yet behind the impressive attendance figures, soaring television audiences, and viral highlights, a very different story is unfolding. Beneath the excitement, the league appears to be battling serious internal problems. Instead of building on its unprecedented momentum, it seems to be creating unnecessary divisions at the very moment unity is needed most. The coaching staff of the league's most valuable franchise has found itself at odds with many of the new fans who helped fuel this remarkable growth. League executives continue promoting the idea that the WNBA has evolved into a balanced, multiple-star league, even as market data consistently points in another direction. Meanwhile, the league's biggest attraction continues to absorb escalating levels of physical punishment on the court, while many fans believe there has been little meaningful response from officials or league leadership. What once appeared to be a once-in-a-generation opportunity is beginning to look increasingly fragile. The cracks are becoming more visible with every passing week, and many observers believe league officials have been far too slow to acknowledge the growing concerns. This is the story of how a league that finally had everything it needed to reach another level may be fumbling the greatest opportunity in its history. Indiana Fever head coach Stephanie White recently addressed the media and delivered a firm message. She strongly condemned the wave of hateful comments and online harassment directed toward WNBA players. White specifically spoke about the racist, toxic, and abusive messages targeting players such as Aaliyah Boston, making it clear that anyone engaging in that behavior should not consider themselves genuine supporters of women's basketball. At face value, her comments reflected responsible leadership. Standing up for players against racism, harassment, and hateful online behavior is something few reasonable people would disagree with. Abuse directed toward athletes has no place in sports, and White's willingness to speak against it carried real significance. However, many of the league's newest fans reacted very differently than expected. Rather than applauding the message, many responded with confusion, frustration, and eventually outright criticism. The debate was never about whether online abuse exists. Almost everyone agrees that racism, personal attacks, and hateful comments are unacceptable. Instead, many fans questioned the timing. At a moment when Caitlin Clark, the Indiana Fever's biggest star, had once again endured another dangerous collision, another hard foul, and yet another controversial sequence involving heavy physical play, many expected the head coach to directly address what had happened on the court. Instead, the focus shifted almost entirely towards social media behavior. For many viewers, that disconnect became impossible to ignore. Clark had just experienced another sequence that many believed should have resulted in stronger officiating or greater protection. Yet rather than discussing the repeated physical treatment directed toward the league's most marketable player, the conversation centered on fan behavior online. Critics were not dismissing White's concerns about toxic comments. Instead, they argued that the press conference appeared to avoid discussing the issue most fans were actually watching unfold during games. Whether that perception was entirely fair or not almost became irrelevant. Public perception often shapes reality, and many supporters came away believing the coaching staff seemed more comfortable discussing broad cultural issues than confronting the repeated physical treatment of its own franchise player. That perception quickly created distance between the Indiana Fever coaching staff and the enormous wave of new supporters who had begun following the team because of Caitlin Clark. Trust, once damaged, is not easily rebuilt. Many fans felt they were witnessing a growing disconnect between what they were seeing on the court and what they were hearing from the organization. While the debate surrounding Stephanie White's comments continued dominating basketball discussions, another completely unrelated moment quietly revealed something equally important about the current state of women's basketball. Ironically, it didn't happen during a WNBA game. It happened on Jeopardy! A recent episode of the long-running quiz show featured a clue involving women's professional basketball. Contestants were shown a clear photograph of Paige Bueckers, the celebrated former UConn star who had recently been selected with the first overall pick in the WNBA draft. One contestant confidently buzzed in. Looking directly at Paige Bueckers' picture, the contestant answered with complete confidence, "Caitlin Clark." The response was incorrect. The correct answer was Paige Bueckers. At first glance, it appeared to be nothing more than a harmless trivia mistake, the kind of brief television clip that trends online for a day before disappearing. But many analysts believe the moment revealed something much larger than a simple guessing error. Unlike sports television, Jeopardy attracts a broad national audience rather than dedicated basketball fans. Its contestants generally represent ordinary Americans instead of sports insiders, making the show a surprisingly useful reflection of mainstream public awareness. When presented with a picture of one of the WNBA's newest stars, the contestant immediately associated the image with only one name, Caitlin Clark. That moment unintentionally highlighted just how deeply Clark's popularity had penetrated mainstream American culture. It also raised an uncomfortable question. Despite months of messaging suggesting the league had successfully developed several equally recognizable stars, was the average American still primarily associating women's professional basketball with just one player? That single moment carried significance far beyond a television game show. For months, league officials and many media outlets had promoted the idea that the WNBA had evolved into a league driven by multiple stars rather than one central figure. The message was consistent. Paige Bueckers had arrived as another franchise-changing talent. Aya Wilson remained one of the league's biggest names, and the sport was now powered by a collection of elite players instead of relying on a single superstar. It was an attractive narrative. The problem was that the business numbers continued telling a different story. The Jeopardy moment did not prove that the league lacked other stars. It simply demonstrated something far more revealing. When an average American, someone outside the daily basketball conversation, looked at a picture of one of the newest faces of the WNBA, the only name that immediately came to mind was Caitlin Clark. That distinction matters. Professional sports are built on mainstream recognition, not just dedicated fans. Casual viewers buy tickets, tune into nationally televised games, purchase merchandise, and attract sponsors. If the average sports fan still connects women's basketball almost exclusively with one player, then league executives must acknowledge that reality rather than attempting to reshape it through marketing campaigns. The league's long-term commercial strategy appears to rest on the belief that its popularity is now evenly distributed across multiple household names. If that assumption is inaccurate, then many of its biggest business decisions are being built on a foundation that simply doesn't reflect the current marketplace. The numbers reinforce that concern. Throughout the 2025 season, Indiana Fever games featuring Caitlin Clark consistently generated resale ticket prices that far exceeded those of almost every other matchup across the league. Television ratings followed the same pattern. Whenever Clark stepped onto the court, viewership surged. Games without her attracted respectable audiences, but none approached the level of national attention generated by Indiana. Corporate sponsors noticed the same trend. Many of the league's largest commercial partnerships continued revolving around Clark because brands naturally invest where they see the greatest public interest. That isn't favoritism, it is basic business. As a result, a noticeable gap began to emerge between the message being promoted publicly and the behavior of the marketplace itself. League officials continued emphasizing that the WNBA had become a balanced, multi-star league. Meanwhile, fans continued buying tickets primarily to watch Caitlin Clark. Networks continued highlighting Fever games. Television audiences continued breaking records whenever Clark played. Corporate partners continued investing around her popularity. Eventually, the difference between the official narrative and the measurable business reality became increasingly difficult to ignore. None of this should be interpreted as criticism of other elite players. Paige Bueckers is widely regarded as one of the brightest young talents in basketball and entered the league following an outstanding collegiate career. Aya Wilson has already established herself as one of the greatest players in WNBA history through years of championship success, MVP awards, and individual excellence. Their accomplishments deserve recognition on their own merit. The discussion is not about talent. It is about market impact. Those are two very different conversations. History has shown that nearly every major sports league experiences periods when one athlete captures the attention of the broader public in a way others simply cannot. That doesn't diminish the greatness of everyone else. Instead, it creates an opportunity for the entire league to grow alongside that player. Many observers believe the WNBA currently finds itself in exactly that situation. Rather than fully embracing the unprecedented attention surrounding Caitlin Clark while simultaneously promoting its other stars, critics argue that the league has attempted to minimize her unique influence in an effort to present a more balanced image. Whether intentional or not, that strategy has created confusion among many fans. Supporters aren't asking the league to ignore its other stars. They simply want league messaging to reflect what the marketplace is already showing. When ticket demand, television ratings, merchandise sales, and national conversations all point overwhelmingly toward one player, pretending otherwise becomes increasingly difficult. Perhaps the greatest challenge facing the WNBA today is not competition on the basketball court. It is balancing two realities at the same time. One reality is the league's understandable desire to showcase its growing collection of talented athletes. The other is the undeniable fact that one player has become the primary driver of unprecedented public attention. Successfully managing both realities could define the next era of women's basketball. Ignoring either one could slow the momentum the league has worked decades to build. The opportunity remains enormous. Interest in the WNBA has never been higher. New fans continue discovering the league every week. Television audiences continue expanding. Corporate investment continues growing. The foundation for long-term success has never looked stronger. Yet maintaining that momentum requires honesty about what is fueling it. Every successful sports league eventually reaches moments that shape its future. This appears to be one of those moments for the WNBA. How league officials respond, how organizations communicate with their fans, and how they protect the players driving this unprecedented growth may ultimately determine whether this historic surge becomes the beginning of a lasting golden era or a missed opportunity remembered for years to come.